Farmers, trust is everything. At Genesis Fertilizers, we're not just proposing to build a facility, we're building a future designed for you. With real progress already underway, we're closer to providing Western Canadian farmers with a reliable, locally produced fertilizer supply. Now is the time to take control of your farm's future. Learn more at genesisfertilizers.com/credibility.
Talk about, we're kind of on a bit of a trade tangent today, and here's some good news for you. Canada, free trade agreement with Indonesia. Here to talk about some of the benefits of that from a beef perspective, Dennis Laycraft, Executive Vice President with the Canadian Cattle Association. Dennis, welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Sean.
Okay, why is this a big deal?
Well, if you look at where the growth for beef is going to be, over the next 25 years, it's in this Indo-Pacific region, and Indonesia is one of the faster growing economies, 275 million people, and they like beef. So, it's a good quality agreement. The SBS chapter is one of the strongest of the agreements. So, we're constantly at this stage looking for the quality of the trade deal. And, it'll be a longer term market, but right now, beef demand in that region is growing faster than world beef production. So,
Dennis, how do you define a quality trade agreement? What does that mean?
It comes down to you want to have, equal to or better than, there's still a few tariffs that phase out. We're going through that with Korea, for instance. It eventually will be at an even or level playing field with the US, but right now we have an 8% tariff disadvantage. So making sure we have either a tariff advantage or preferably no tariffs. Then when you get into like the full systems approval, you don't get into the issues like we have with Europe. So I'd say, like, when you look at quality deals, obviously the USMCA, CUSMA is kind of one of the gold standards. CPTPP and the access we have into Japan, into Taiwan, into Vietnam are some of the, that I'd call the gold standard for trade deals and market access. So we're pursuing those so that we have equal to or preferential access to our competitors.
When we think about growing beef demand in that region, what kind of cuts? What's the market look like?
We're going to be pursuing that high end market. There's some pretty big competitors closer than we are to Indonesia. So it's really finding that high end retail restaurant trade, and there's very good interest on the trade mission. Nathan Finney, our president, and Jennifer Babcock, from our Ottawa team, are both over there right now, along with Canada Beef, and JBS is along on trade mission. So, they're seeing lots of interest.
280 million people in Indonesia.
Yeah.
It's the world's fourth largest populous country. I did not know that. And it is the most populous Muslim majority country. So I guess any indications in terms of what kind of, you said long-term markets, that tells me there's some work to do here to, give some preference for Canadian products, especially as it applies to some of the tariff differences. What needs to happen in order to make that long-term situation pan out the way that Canada sees? Like, what turns opportunity into reality?
Well, with the Muslim market, you need the halal processing. So, getting set up with that, we're seeing interesting growth in the Middle East as well. So, that's part of that growth. It's developing that those customers over there that are looking for that high end, grain fed product. That's where we're going to fit in the world, and building those relations. We're not in it to be in the spot market, here for 3 months because we're a little long on product. It's about growing that and building that relationship. So, we saw that it took many years in Japan, but look at what we're doing there now. We're seeing that in Vietnam, as we have good trade in Taiwan and growing trade in Korea. So again, building these secure markets, and the more diversification we have, the more we're protected. When China closed to us, we had enough diversification that it didn't impact beef like it did some other Canadian commodities when the market was interrupted. So, building that, and hopefully that sends a signal. This year, cattle may have been the most profitable enterprise for, I haven't said that for a long time, but it was one of the most profitable enterprises, and we're back as the number one source of farm cash receipts in Canada. So hopefully that's getting a message that we can restock the herd and hopefully even begin to grow the herd more beyond that.
Yeah, good point. Here's another little known fact about Indonesia: 17,000 islands, Dennis. That I can't get my head wrapped around that. That is a very, very interesting region. Now, you mentioned Japan and you mentioned China. Is China like? And a lot of times we reference Japan as kind of like I'm labeling the kind of the gold standard. That's the kind of market, long, consistent buyer, interested in quality. These are all the things that Canada's talking about. China is a little bit more transactional, as we all know. Where does a country like Indonesia, where does it fit? Is it more like a Japan from an opportunity standpoint?
Well, it would be earlier on in that development cycle. They're, like everywhere, their middle class is growing, and you've got Japan is a very stable economy. They're one of the most developed countries in the world. So, we are seeing, and to some respects in China, we had customers there that were really pursuing. They're building kind of that high-end restaurant trade. You see a lot of steakhouses now that are starting to show up in China. We expect you'll see the same in markets like Indonesia, and it's finding those right business relationships. And that's why it's great to see one of our larger processors over there really getting engaged with some customers.